everybody, and welcome to Stat Check episode 49. Oh, bigger number. A hard Wraiths night. I am Innes. I am joined, as always, by Nathan and Anthony, and as very frequently by Jeremy. We are here to elucidate and complain and commiserate on all things 10th edition. Now that we are a decent bit deep into Leviathan, I think I've played almost a dozen games now. Literally, I did a full practice weekend, played a bunch more TTS, whole bunch of stuff. It's been wild. I'm having a very odd time with it because yeah, I'm in the top left. I'm in the bit that's never in a deployment zone. That's the bit that I'm in. Okay. So yeah, it's been super interesting. I know Anthony's been involved in a bunch of Warhammer stuff. Jeremy the same, and Nathan's been taking a bit of a chill. But we're going to go through the usual. We'll do a little bit of the standard stuff. So the housekeeping bit of we're going to talk about why we're not talking about stats as usual, because there is no stats at the moment. We'll talk a little bit about how our last week or so has gone, and then we'll do a little bit of we'll talk about 10th and the general state of game, general state of play, how we're all feeling about it, what we're enjoying, what we're not enjoying, lots more, what we, things like that, things of that nature. And then we will probably move into questions pretty quickly because there's an absolute pile of them from the Discord this week because everybody's got their hands on 10th edition, obviously, and is starting to develop opinions and wanting to hear ours for reasons that I fully still refuse to fathom. But I understand that people want them, and if everyone knows anything about the people on the show, we're all very willing to share our opinions at almost a moment's notice. So with that said, let's start top right. Nathan, how you been?
Been doing all right. I have not played a game of 10th edition yet. I've also wow, damn, that also was confusing to me to watch the Windows switch kind of on the fly there. I haven't played a game of 10th yet. I'm a little behind on my trying to digest 10th edition rules because I was sick last weekend and I was at a conference the week before that. So I'm just a little behind. And I have my last game of 9th edition on Saturday, where I have to score 48 points with Innes's Iron Hands list in order to win the league, which I think is achievable.
What are you going, blind, drunk, or debilitated, or with one hand? Pick one, you'll be fine.
I'm gonna go really relaxed. That's what I'm going. John Jeffries just gives us $1, but it's
because we fixed this. We fixed the orders for him, and honestly, I appreciate that.
Okay. Other than that, I've been starting to tinker with list building and stuff like that. I've got some painting and stuff that I've been trying to get done. I have a night project that I'm kind of excited by. So I downloaded some a bunch of guides on how to do Imperial Knight Livery that I'm really excited by. That's about it. And I've played a lot of Diablo 4 while being sick because I can do that, but I cannot read indexes. Because Diablo 4 requires me hitting 4 buttons every 8 seconds while the druid is on cooldowns, and reading and analyzing indexes takes way too much brain power.
To be fair, if you make it the Elder Index, it's about the same amount of brain power to play as well. So.
True. It takes a couple of seconds for your brain to get over the fact that you don't have to make any choices. Well, you can make some choices. You can choose to have 1 or 3 Wraith Knights, I guess. You can choose to take a bunch of broken nonsense. I don't know. I learned recently, somebody was telling me that you could turn 1, probably just kibosh your opponent by teleporting the Incarn over turn 1 after blasting them to pieces with Wraith Knights, and then just charging them and then just deleting another unit repeatedly in sequence and just take out your entire army in their deployment zone, which I thought was kind of neat. That's about it.
Yeah.
I do wish Baneblades were a little cheaper because the Doom Hammer is endlessly funny at making things explode on a 3-up.
Is that the one? I really don't enjoy that a few of them are slightly more than 500 points. As a Gene Circle player, it offends me that there's 3 I can't take. Not because I would ever take one. I don't own a Baneblade. I'm never going to own a Baneblade. But the fact that I'm not allowed to makes me want one out of spite now.
There's a few that are under 500 points. I think the Doom Hammer is
yeah, it's more that there are any that are over 500.
Oh, fair.
Why are you doing this in EGW? I would have, if I could have had all of them, I might have bought one.
I mean, if they were closer to 400 points, just a little bit cheaper, they might be okay. But they're so big. I think people forget how big Baneblades are.
So if they all had devastating wounds and fate dice, they'd probably all be all right.
They would be. I mean, if they were also 370 points, had towering, were super tall, could use fate dice, be -1 to wound, have a 2-up, and
minus
4
1 damage.
invuln and minus
They
1
can't have a 4.
damage.
No Wraith Knight on God's Earth has a 4-up invuln.
You can give them that, but otherwise they can also just have a 1-up save because of
sword as well. Nobody's doing it.
You, however, give a Baneblade a 4-up invuln.
Yes, you have to take a Primaris Psyker, who I'm not.
No, you don't.
Oh, Engine Seer. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. I remember like piecemeal the indexes. Piecemeal.
One of those things where, like, if you're gonna give the guy an access to a 4 invul, just give him one of those data sheet and make it 4 points more expensive. Don't tie it to a character following him. What's holding the button? Like
$5 for Innis to buy.
Thanks,
like
Ben. I'll get onto my recaster.
Like a
that'll
30th
buy
of a
a
Baneblade.
Bonson at a recaster, I think.
If you guys give enough money, I'll bring one with me to WTC and give Innis a Baneblade there. How about that? I have a second one that I do not need, and I'll just bring it.
I don't own a Baneblade, but a friend of mine was trying to get his ready for a tournament, so I grabbed. He had 4 colors with him to paint an entire Baneblade, so we grabbed tissue paper and painted it entirely with sponges and no brushes by just dabbing it with tissue paper, which I was very impressed with because it actually was better than most of my army at the time. So
that says that says 2 very important things, neither of which
are bricks that aren't hard to paint and that I don't paint that great sometimes.
Yes. Oh yeah, but Baneblades are huge models. There's a picture of one next to a Rogaldorn, and a Rogaldorn's already a big model, and it's like 2.5 Rogaldorns in size. So you're never moving that around the table.
Yeah, it was really weird when the Rogaldorn was the same toughness armor save as it.
Yeah. Instead, I'm looking at Knights because at least Knights can shoot over buildings and walk over small ruins.
Okay, and with that, Nathan, you're muted again. You've lost talking privileges. Jeremy, how have you been? We're going to continue with the person in top right because it was Nathan, but now it's Jeremy.
Are we going to rotate Anthony up there next?
No,
that's going to make people upset. I'm doing pretty well. Saturday was spent teaching a group of friends how to play 10th edition, going through the missions, going through how all the new rules work, playing a bunch of silly test games, laughing at how silly a unit of crisis suits with nothing but sibs is because it just blows its brains out every single time it shoots. Yeah, we had a great time on Saturday, but it was very much a silly, carefree, let's just have fun and figure out how all this shit works. Combined with a lot of beer, a lot of scotch, and a lot of barbecue. So it was just a fantastic day. Yeah, I'm also extremely happy that this person invited us all out because he lives 4 minutes away from me. So I now have a new place to play Warhammer when I want to just play casual games. It's lovely. And yeah, just been having fun with that. And been slowly but surely trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do for WTC because that could be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, sounds good. It's been an interesting experience. How have you found such like super high level? What's been your take on 10th so far from the practice game? Like
super
avoiding
level.
Like the competitive spirit. Like how has it been with like the more casual like intro levels teaching people side of things? Because that's something we often kind of forget at this stage. Anthony's leaving because he doesn't want to hear it. But like for the people who are, we are obviously a very competitively focused podcast because it's what most of us are super vets, and except Nathan, who mostly cares about trolling Crusade leagues. But how has it been for sort of like the closer to the ground, the more store level players? Like, what's it been like?
They've all really been enjoying it. And I will say this, that from both a competitive and a more casual stance, the new missions are just a ton of fun. I will probably never force people to ever play Servo Skulls at a tournament because it is the silliest mission ever.
Let's be honest, I just don't enjoy the placing objectives during the game.
I just discovered that you just have to start using tokens. You can't use the neoprene objectives because it just gets real confusing real fast. But it is very funny watching objectives go when you make an objective sticky and then it just goes 12 inches every single battle round towards your opponent's deployment zone.
Yeah, that sounds obnoxious.
Yeah, it is. It's dumb. That mission is great for casual play, terrible for every other sense. But yeah, the more most of the players that I play with also play in tournaments. But there's varying levels of like competitiveness amongst them. Some of them are just like, hey, I just want to hang out and I want to, play 5 games. Anthony is on strike until he breaks through the glass ceiling to the top right box.
For anybody listening to the podcast at home, we generally join the chat in a certain order based on like who makes things like that, which means that we often end up in similar positions. And chat in Discord in YouTube has been whinging about us not being in the right places as usual. I don't even frankly know what our normal places are, other than that Jeremy should
Apparently
be
this
next to the
is.
Mr. Stat. Jeremy, you should always be next to the Mr. Stat Check logo. That's I think that's incredibly important because of that one time that we put you at the side and it made you. I wonder if I can force it. No, yeah, it's close.
It's when we had 5 people because we had a guest.
Yeah, and we
And
forced
it was
Jeremy
like
into the
3
logo.
on the top and 2 on the bottom.
But with that said, let's move back to the topic before I derail us completely.
Yeah,
I just
so
wanted to make sure the podcast
general
listeners knew what was
feelings,
going on.
the missions are really fun, teaching the core rules, very straightforward. Players that were playing Ninth previously, there is a bit of an adjustment to getting used to the new Universal Special Rules, but after like 2 games of playing with them, they're just like, oh yeah, lethal hits does this, sustained hits does this, dev wounds is annoying, but I know what it does now. So like understanding what every single what all the rules do does start coming very quickly. Everyone was super happy that we have just like these lovely, well formatted data sheets to reference. I think 3 of the 6 of us actually had like printed out on like note card sized card stock the 2 sides of every single data sheet that they were playing with that day. And it just makes referencing things really handy and makes explaining things to your opponent really handy because you just hand them to them and say, here, this is what I do.
Yeah, I broadly have enjoyed having the index cards. They definitely do help. I'm looking forward to them being inaccurate very quickly.
100%. You know, especially since GW themselves has even said that the digital ones will be regularly updated. And I'm like,
yeah.
So those printed ones. Hope you brought white out.
Print your own is probably the best advice. I saw somebody who had like gone to like I think it said it was like Walgreens or something like that in the US and just printed them out on like photo stock, which looked a lot better and looked reasonably easy to do. So
yeah,
I can definitely see it being done. Like just if you're going to a big tournament, print them out. If you're going to do like a local GT, you'll probably get away with your phone. But if you're going to if everybody's ever been to like a super major, you can probably know it's a pain in the backside to charge your phone in an event. Have paper copies of your data sheets at least. It will make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, and one of the other things that also came up when we were going through that, because you mentioned the Walgreens thing, printing them at like a Staples or like an office supply store is actually fairly expensive, but the like Walgreens or Photo or wherever you people print digital photos, I haven't printed them in a decade. Wherever you get that done, they're apparently like 10 cents a page. So doing the indexes that way is actually very cheap.
It's not bad.
Yeah, printers at GTs. Yeah, that would could probably make a killing doing that. Give me your USB drive with your army on it, or just tell me what armies.
Tell me the 10 data sheets you have, and I'll print them out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, actually, there's been quite a few people in the community, and you can see them in our Discord under the 10th Ed resources, and a few other people that I've also been seeing that have been reorganizing and reformatting the index cards to make them even more handy and more useful. So something like that would actually be handy for a TO to just have on a tablet.
Yeah, there's also I think it's like EU data, like datacards.eu or something like that. I'll see if I can find it in a quick second. I'll mute up and have a poke on the website. But there's a website that's like uploaded digital copies of all of them already that you can search through stuff like that, which is super helpful as well.
Yeah, some people have started to put out OCR and bookmarked ones, so like they're a lot easier to get through and to read.
All right, Ben J has said 10 cent as in 10CENT discount code at Walgreens and at CVS. But yeah, Anthony, where are we at?
I had a weekend. A bunch of the like local team that I came up with came by to practice on Saturday. By the end of it, all 7 of us had either quit till data slate or outside of WTC obligations within 4 games. So that was cool. That was very exciting. And then I played 1 game Friday with TJ, and we decided that demons are like completely unviable. If you're on a WTC team, you didn't hear that, and good luck with your demon list. Or maybe the army they played against is just super broken, but I'm 140-0 between played and watched games into demons score in team settings. So eventually they'll put up a team's point somewhere, I'm sure.
Look, I'm fully with you on this one. I think Tim said it best in our backstage Discord. where he was like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm gaslighting myself every time I look at demons because they seem great, and then I put them on the table and they suck,
They just
and
don't do anything.
they just don't do anything." I think personally, just to quickly tangent on it, it's because they didn't actually go up in toughness relative to everything else. Like
I mean,
everything
like,
else got better saves, and demons just didn't. So they just feel way more fragile. Than
Well,
they
in some
ever were.
instances, they like lost saves. Their toughness is worse because they're no longer phase capped or 3-up invuln and stuff. They just don't seem very good. But
100%.
maybe Matt Morrisoli will dig some shit out of the demon mines.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there'll be some great demons players out there, and some teams will take them. And I'm sure they'll scam some shooting armies that didn't consider playing into demons. But ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
Unless you're Team England, in which case definitely take demons. 100%. I want to see Nas on demons.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Like an excellent use of that player because he'll definitely convince himself they're awesome. So yeah, that was Saturday, and then I spent all of Saturday night and Sunday that I was planning to spend playing 10th, playing Diablo. So that part was dope. Shout out
Diablo,
to
great.
Shout out to Hammer the Ancients Barbarian. And then like while I was like halfway through playing, they put out this like really dope like fireside commentary where they like went through all the mistakes that they've made in making Diablo and then like admitted to all of them and told you what they were going to do to fix all of them. So that part was pretty cool and a completely alien experience relative to this game. And between now and then, I have played a bunch of practice games of an edition I don't really care about. So that was my weekend.
Jesus.
Everything but the 40K was dope.
Yep.
How about you, Innes?
Say one second if someone could talk for a little
Oh,
bit.
sure.
Yeah, I can ramble some more. I looked into acquiring the rest of my Age of Sigmar list, so that was cool. A Scarbrand showed up at my house. That was sweet. He's painted and primed already, so he's over there. So that's a huge portion of like every Sigmar list I would play. So maybe I can do that instead.
Yeah, but you already missed Sigmar Worlds.
What'd you say?
You already missed Sigmar Worlds.
Yeah, he'd make Team America like instantly. So
yeah, on accident. So I think it'd be all right.
You and Jack just go and retire to Sigmar. It'll be fun. Nobody will have a bad time.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Cool. Sorry, I got distracted by a message that was vaguely important. As for myself, I have played a ton of Warhammer, which is unusual for me because I actually usually don't play a lot in one burst unless I'm in a tournament. But I committed hard. I did 2 practice weekends, or 2 practice, full practice days. I got 4 games in and 3 games in, and then I played a bunch of TTS on top of that. And generally getting a good feel for the edition now. Starting to have strong opinions on like which missions I like and things like that. Enjoying the tactical cards. They're generally fairly dynamic, a little easy to score, but I wonder how much of that is coming down to partly me having experience with card systems, and a lot of my opponents not, having come from being basically pure 9th edition players. Although I know Brian is finding them easy as well, but Brian's also just really good at the game. So
he's also played Magic and stuff, right? So he's used to like the
and he's doing the whole playing Wraith Knights. So I don't know how much his experiences are universal.
Well, they are for all Eldar players because their experiences must all be the same because like they literally pick what happens.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen a whole bunch of people on Reddit complaining about their Eldar armies not doing damage, and I think that there are some people who are just allergic to 6s.
I think you could give those people a fate-adjusted 2-up to win the game, and they would still lose.
Well, are they Custodes players?
Yeah,
I shouldn't rag on Custodes players right now. They're quite good, and I don't want to get hurt by them.
Having played a game of Custodes, oh boy.
I don't want to get jumped by a Custodes player fighting first, so I'm going to avoid slagging Custodes players off right now. But broadly, I've had, I would say 50% of my games have ended on turn 1 or 2, and 50% of my games have been like utter slogs through to the end, like taking blows out of each other, winning them, losing them, and that's been about half my games. And mostly those have either only involved 2 of the best armies or have not involved any of the best armies. So like Deathwatch versus Genestealer Cults was a super interesting game where we both had tons of stuff left alive at the end, running on fumes, super close game. Tyranids versus Thousand Suns. I got my ass beat, but I was in the game the entire time. And so there's definitely been some like moments of I can see how this ends up being fairly fun, fairly playable, decent skill. And then sometimes I go, so I fire 12 obliterators with line of sight shooting and table the Night Army on turn 2. And he had no recourse. So, there's problems here. Like I don't think anybody is at the point of denying that now. I know there's definitely been a lot of, hey, we can wait a little bit. We're not playing the game yet, and it's easy to sit back and say, we don't have the full picture yet, and we, in some senses, still don't. But I think that's just like at this point not an excuse. Forge rules aren't going to fix this. Neither is a GT pack. Like the GT pack would have to say something like devastating wounds and towering are crusade only, and I would maybe start looking and being like, cool, Nathan will have a great time.
Yeah. Maybe indirect too. Like all of those are crusade rules.
Indirect is actually -1 plus the skill, -1 to hit, and you get +1 save and cover, and then we'll start talking. You know?
Oh Jesus!
Just you've got both indirect penalties, and you can't ignore the first one, right? And then we'll be like, cool. And plunging fire, like no ruin is legally allowed to be more than 6 inches, more than 5 inches tall, right? And we'll start talking. But as it stands, broadly from what I've experienced, when you play 2 medium or pretty crap armies with 2 players with roughly level skill level, 10th edition is still Warhammer. At its core, you are still playing Warhammer. Now, there are things that are weaker. Melee is so much worse than it was in 9th edition, which is hilarious because you know how much weaker in 9th edition Melee was than in 8th edition? It's ungodly how much worse it was. And they made it worse again. I've been speaking to some people and I was like, yeah, so the thing that you're feeling now when you went from like all the 9th mechanics, like wrapping and, you know, pilot, like the level that they moved 8th down to 9th, like in terms of like melee ability, is about the same. It just feels even worse because you're losing like the scraps that were still there from the 8th edition system, which has definitely resulted in it feeling like a lot of people are just saying like, F it, I'll just shoot people now, which is definitely how I know a lot of melee focused players in 8th edition felt when the transition to 9th happened. So fully understand how everybody's feeling there, and it feels bad. I think the system is, I don't know, it's one of those things where like if you look for the edge cases, they're so easy to find, but if you're playing casually, you can just kind of like you can mostly skate through just playing the melee changes if you're not really focused on it. If you want to look for the edge cases, they're so easy to find and so easy to abuse and such a problem in terms of game flow and like combat state that it's just feels like it fundamentally failed as a design choice and just needs backtracking in some sense. And I don't know where you do that. Like I don't know how you make these things that have just so fundamentally missed the point of what they were trying to do actually do the job. But with that said, it's still really funny charging things with single models that don't have to worry about any of that shit because you just base them and then you go, this is the lion and now you are gone. And that's been fun. I still like hitting things with the lion and Abaddon. That's about as far as I've gotten with Melee this edition. Everything else utterly sucks. Punching things with Chaos Terminators and wounding on 5s is not pleasant. I do not like this.
Yeah.
How has Battle Shock felt in your test game so far?
God, I played 2 games of
Battle what?
So I have played 2 whole games of Tyranids. I would like you to guess how many units Battle Shocked in those 2 combined games. Given that I have an army mechanic to make everything take a Battle Shock test.
1.
2, and one of them paid a CP and ignored it. Like it was just the native one. Like it wasn't from Shadow in the Warp. They just failed one of the Battle Shock tests and were like, I'll just hold this for a CP. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's been my experience with Battle Shock as well. Although there's Battle Shock and then there's leadership tests. And let me tell you, in a recent game where I was playing into CSM, the number of Dark Pact tests that person failed and took mortals on was hilarious. I felt bad for him by the end of the game because I think he lost 3 or 4 Terminators to failed Dark Pact tests.
Yeah, my game against Chaos Knights, I failed 6 Dark Pacts in the first 2 turns, all of them on exactly my leadership value, and I failed by 1 because of the -1 reduction. I rolled 4 6s and 2 5s on the 6th leadership test I had to take. Just like, well, I guess I'm dead. Although I suppose on Abaddon squad, you're hoping to fail 1 and take 3 mortal wounds, so you can resurrect the guy at the front. It's very fun, but yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a game under here that I will enjoy in time, and I'm like, at the end of the day, I am, unlike a lot of people, still having fun with 10th edition, even in the stupid games, because I am broadly addicted to Warhammer. That's probably the safest way to do it.
Yeah,
and
let's be honest.
willing to overlook a lot in the service of moving around toy soldiers. I've been doing this since I was 11 years old. I don't really know how to do anything else anymore, so I feel like I kind of have to like 10th edition. So yeah. Take my thing with a pinch of salt. I'm sure, as Anthony has been doing for the past 3 years, or for the past 3 months, sorry. Get over yourself a little bit. The game is a bit shit.
Yeah, I will not disagree that the game is a bit shit. But at the same time, like, I'm building a Sisters army right now after having seen their index.
Why?
To a certain extent, you have
because
to plan.
I'm a masochist.
Like,
Like-
even I'm not adding to my Death Guard army, Nick, Jeremy. Like, come on, man, you got to. Suppose everybody deals with this in your own way. You just hoping there's going to be a bloody rose detachment in the Codex.
I
A
hope
lot of
there's
people
anything
always.
but that.
A lot of people do tell you to collect armies if you like modeling, though, because you're going to be spending a lot of time painting models regardless of the situation. So you might as well, if you're not enjoying the gaming side of it, if you still enjoy the hobby side of it, that's okay. And sometimes the gaming side of it will catch up eventually.
And that's why Anthony's having such a crap time, because Anthony doesn't engage with the hobby side even a little bit, right? Like, it's
Correct.
just straight wash your hands. So,
Yeah.
understandably, without that, you don't have the extra level of it, which, for reasons of your own, which nobody criticizes, but it definitely does affect your level of engagement in a general sense, right? Like, you're not having to paint models for a list anyway, or anything
Yeah,
like that.
when the game is bad, it's just like, oh, all right.
It does make me a little bit more intensely like nervous about going to Ottawa and Padawan in July.
I mean,
Buddy,
listen,
you're going to go and
Might
hang
be
out with
like-
friends. Don't worry about it.
That's what I'm going to do regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have fun no matter what. The 40K
we'll-
part maybe.
We'll make sure that the event is as good as it can be with the rules that we have.
And then maybe we can all just take a nose out of Alpine Cup, and we can play the Alpine Cup format where everybody just don't have devastating wounds.
I don't know what Brian's trying to say. I do paint a lot of models. I have like 6,000 points of painted models. I don't know what you're talking about, Brian.
I don't know. Brian's a bit of a twat. Don't worry about it.
Speak for yourself, Nathan. Okay, I'll just pull out the 3 fully painted armies from somewhere over here. to my left.
Definitely, Nathan, you are speaking for yourself.
I think Brian was giving me shit. Like, he was saying,
Oh,
like, speak for
okay.
yourself, because, like, Anthony's not going to do that.
I know. That's fair. I'm
Cool.
not sure. I just like read it and I was like, what?
So yeah,
Okay.
broadly, I think our feelings on 10th edition kind of coalesce. What I will say, for anybody who's not listened to it, go and check out 40K Fireside, which is the podcast run by David Gaylord and Vic VJ of Team Ignite. They did I would say, scathing review of the general state of the game right now and a lot of the problems with it. To summarize, indirect, lone operative, devastating wounds, fate dice, towering, the cover mechanic in general, Overwatch. There's more I'm missing, but like, you could do a fairly reasonable negative play experience tier list and hit 15 rules before you were in C tier for 10th edition.
Yep.
Which definitely sucks a lot of the wind out of 4K right now, which is a shame because I want to be excited about 4K. Leviathan, the models are awesome. I have a ton of really cool events coming up. Like, we're doing, I've got the Warhammer Finals, I've got San Diego, I've got obviously WTC, LGT. Like, there's so much stuff to be excited about, and I still am excited for all of them because of the people that are going to be there. But I'm at this point excited in spite of the 40K, not because of the 40K. And a lot of the time, like, you want to be happy going to an event for both reasons. And right now, you're not. I also know that if I look back through my Twitter, I whinged through basically the entirety of 9th edition. So this isn't new for me either. But looking back, maybe Archaeoptic Fusiliers weren't that bad.
Yeah, I would.
Those flyers suck. That's one nice thing.
They did figure out how to make flyers bad. Which, as we've said before, if you can't be balanced, you get to be bad.
If only they had figured that out for the rest.
Give them time.
And instead, land speeders get to be 9th edition flyers, right?
Bombers.
Where they
Yeah,
get to be bombers and gunboats
fair,
at the same time.
As much as I despaired about the Landspeeder Tornado during when we were talking about it, that thing's 95 points, and I actually think it's fine. 95 points is a lot, and it being
that is an expensive unit.
A couple of mortal wounds on a very fragile platform, I'm actually okay with it. If you want to make it that points, giving it a roll like that feels fine.
It's what, T7?
Yeah, it's like T7, 6 wounds, 3-up save. I eyes wide opened when I saw it rules, because I'm like, this is 70 points right now. It's 95. It's fine. Yeah. It's okay. Like I said, it's okay for units to be good. It's just not okay for units to be broken. But yeah, with that said, what I will say, for anybody who wants a little more in-depth on a bunch of the stuff that came out with the indexes and points, do go and check out on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/statcheck. Jeremy and I did a points review show, basically the day points shop. It is called What's the Points 10th Ed on our YouTube channel. You can go check that out, and we'll make sure there's a link in the description as well. It is probably the one-stop shop, because we're not going to go through a bunch of points now. Like, broad level points are out of whack. There's a bunch of armies that look terrible. They all look like they're designed by different people, and I frankly don't understand some points cost choices, but it'll be fine.
I don't know, man. Mana cores are kind of funny at like 105 points or whatever it is right now.
And Nas is offering 199 for helping Anthony buy a gunline. Anthony, if we combine our powers together, what if it's a Baneblade gunline and we split custody?
Yeah, there we go.
Split custody internationally for one Baneblade.
Yeah, well, I mean, neither of us are going to want it, so it's going to stay in a UPS parcel somewhere.
It would still be more effective parenting than I got. So,
with that said, broadly, come on, Anthony, what are we meant to do to follow that up? I'm going to show that instead.
Yes. No, wait,
if you want to
wait.
see
But
all of these
Ashley-
incredible resources, okay,
Wait,
Jeremy,
Jeremy's
go for
got
it.
something to say.
I gotta respond to this. Yes, but Ashley, while a land speeder is more durable than a Paragon Warsuit, a Paragon Warsuit is also cheaper than a land speeder.
I like the land suit though. That
I
makes
feel
me
like
happy.
you can't compare those two things super well. But all
I
right,
mean, they both walk around walls exactly the same, so
It's true, they do.
true.
I don't know. I like being able to get mana cores on full rerolls to hitting against anything over 5 models. That makes me amused endlessly until
I
the end
hate
of my
that all
life.
those rolls are 5+ instead of 6+. It bugs me to no end.
I don't
Literal
know, bud.
Blast triggering at 5 models is like the biggest trigger. I despise it so much.
I wish it triggered just like from 0. Like 0 gave you 1 extra shot, and then like 5 gave you 2.
I think
I would take it. I would love
my
that. That'd
blast
be
fix is
amusing.
definitely +1 shot to the maximum number of shots your weapon has. So if you're blast, you got D3 shots, cool.
Actually.
2 models gives you minimum 2, or 5
I think
models gives
it
you
should give
minimum
you-
2.
I think it should give you +1 shot per dude in the unit past 5.
Anthony, also while you're here, the people in my local keep talking about building lists with like 100 jackals in them
Hell yeah.
repeatedly, with 3 demon princes and like 100 jackals or cultists. It's
I think you should tell them to do it. I think they should do it. I think anyone that thinks that's a good idea should do it.
And everybody who wants to play the list is required to buy and paint all the models before they put it on the table because they have to put the money where their mouth is. You're not allowed to proxy or test an army in advance. You must full commit. Take it to a tournament for your first game with it, and then let us know how it goes. We would love to hear from you.
to my locals. There's an RTT July 15th. If you want to proxy 200 jackals with cultists or something, you can do it. I'd be fine with it. Just
I mean, you're definitely cheating if you want to proxy 200 jackals with cultists because the battling Kappa squad says at 20.
I know,
but
yes,
Nathan, we advocate a lot of things on this show, such as hating Warhammer. But
I don't know how many. I don't know what the maximum number of jackals that go in a unit is. World leaders are a dead faction.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Yeah, they are. That's no small part of my upsetness with 10th is the absolute violation that world leaders got going into it.
So here's a question to Anthony. If world leaders had kept the exact same codex and points, would they be viable in 10th?
No. It doesn't help that they got worse. They would be better, but
it's a little hard.
I mean, they actually probably really wouldn't.
They'd
be really capped on strength at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they actually got some pretty good strength buffs.
Yeah. Well, they got pretty good strength buffs on exactly one unit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on a little bit. I'm going to do the plugs in brief because I've already mentioned the YouTube channel, so you do go and check that out. The other main one is obviously Patreon, patreon.com/statcheck. It's the best place you can do to support us. It allows us to do all the cool things we do, running the website, running all of the shows, all the bonus shows, paying for Nathan to come out to WTC, which is a super awesome thing that we were super proud to be able to do. So yeah, that's the best place you can do to support us on all that sort of thing. You, for I think it's $5 a month or your local equivalent, get access to our Patreon Discord, which has a ton of awesome 10th edition resources from the community members and also people like Jeremy, who put a ton of work into building an army builder that I assume an absolute metric crap ton of people have used because I see screenshots from it literally everywhere. So thank you to Jeremy and everybody else in the Discord to support with that. So yeah, that's the best place you can support us, and we really appreciate everybody who can be there. If that's not something you're in a position to do right now, we do really appreciate anybody who just helps us out on the social side of things. So that's all the things like liking and commenting on the videos. I should really check the Wraith. We'll take a quick break at some point, and I'll check to see who got the D-Cannon's price question right, because I didn't do that in advance. But thank you to everybody who left a comment last week. And the one for this week, it was something to do with the WTC and me putting 37 bases in my mouth, but I'm just not going to follow up on that and hope that nobody challenges me on it at any point.
Yeah, also if
Because-
you join the Patreon Discord, you
Much
can join
easier.
our 10th edition tournament that Innis is starting. So the 10th edition tournament will be potted and then go into a knockout
so
round
we are
afterwards.
so Patreon Discord, that's another thing. We are running the next incarnation of the Vibe Check League. In this sense, it is a sign up, and you will get assigned 3 opponents to play over the next month or so. So ending at the end of July, and then the top players from that will go into a bracket to try and win the tournament. We figured that we would do it a bit more free flow rather than having list submissions, given that we are hoping that the game will be in an immense state of flux right now. And I didn't want to deal with list submissions in my DMs all the time because that's Nathan's job. You should definitely get in Nathan's DMs with your list submission. Even if we don't have to, you should just send him it anyway.
You can send me lists. I will even look at them and even talk to you about them. I don't really care. Whatever.
That's fair.
I'm not the good person to do that kind of work with, though.
A couple last things to shout out before we move on to the questions. Obviously, we have a bunch of other shows on the network, and the Matrix, which is doing WC coverage. I think there was a recent episode of that came out, but I honestly have lost track. And also X&1, which I have recently had on Chris from Phoenix Wargaming. That sounds right. Where they spoke all about Diablo mostly, but also like becoming a better player and having life responsibilities and stuff like that. So yeah, do go and check that out. Chris was the judge at Kansas City along with Jeremy. Excuse me. And had some really great opinions on the general state of everything, up to and including how terrible sisters look. Finally, myself and Typhus do offer coaching. Do check us out at coaching. Send us an email at coaching@stat-check.com or check out stat-check.com/coaching for any information if you're looking to get better at 10th edition, especially for once we move on from this hell meta and we actually start playing the game with some level of skill again, because we would love to help you out. Please do check it out. With that said, let's move on to show questions. I don't have them open, so this is going to be a weird, awkward pause. But I'm actually going to go and look up to see who got the Wraith Cannon,
I already have them for you.
question right. So Jeremy can get started on questions.
Also, Ennis, I already have the points for you. The 3 people that got it.
You're so much better organized than I am.
You were doing the plugs. I was looking through the comments.
Fair enough. Who's got it?
All right. So there were 3 people that got the points right. 2 people that actually got the per model. All 3 of them got the per model right, but 1 person got it wrong because they said the decants could be taken in units of 3.
And who was the first? Let's go with that.
So the first would be actually, I don't actually know what order YouTube puts these things in. I'm assuming that they do them in.
I think it's bottom to top. Yeah.
I'm assuming it's bottom to top. In which case, Evader 110. I believe he's Ethan or Evan.
Ethan in Discord. He's been doing a bunch of work on the list builder. So
yes, he has. So he was the first one to get it at 85 points. And then you had that one guy who I believe is John in the Discord.
Yeah, that's John is that one guy.
So he got it as well. And Neo Kigali, who I actually don't know who that is in the Discord, but I'm assuming
or if he's even in the Discord. To be fair, people are just on the YouTube channel occasionally.
That's Brian.
This is fair. Pardon?
Anyway, awesome. Congratulations to you.
That's Bryant from the Discord.
Oh, awesome.
Perfect.
And massive. And to anybody who said it was less than 85, a pox upon your houses.
Many people did say less than 85, but they also said because of GW. So
yeah, of course. But why would
they
you
recognize the
manifest that energy?
silliness?
Why would you manifest that energy into the world? Don't say things like that.
I hope Eldar gets buffed in the changes.
Stop that.
Anthony, why do you? Why are
Monkey
you
paw
the way you
girl.
are?
Actually, no, it's because Anthony's an Eldar player. That's why.
Anthony, the way you are, the way you choose to be infuriates me. Thank you.
I mean, the first question from show questions kind of goes along with that. It just says, "What the hell?" And that's from Jake B. in the
Buddy,
Discord.
we don't know.
We don't know, friends.
This is one thing we're allowed to still not know is what the hell.
Well, that channel got changed to We Know or something like
And
that.
then it got
now.
archived so that we will
And
never
then,
know again.
And then I archived it and put it to private. So nobody knows what we know, including people who know what we don't know.
I'm sure everybody watching the show who is in the Discord will get that joke and will find it equally funny as everybody who is in the Discord.
Somebody will remember
let's
politics
just-
from the
please
90s
just-
or
please just
the
move on.
2000s. I don't know.
And let's just try to quote The
asks-
Office. No, Luke, I've never seen The Office.
Preston asks, should I reach for that Wraith Knight?
How much do you value your win rate versus your material friendships?
Also, how long will it take for you to get that Wraith Knight battle ready?
Yep.
Because I have a feeling that's not going to last.
After GW's lightning fast response to the Death Watch stuff, maybe some of this stuff that we are complaining about now is not long.
Also,
You know
Anthony,
what?
you're not coming through.
I really hope so. Either or is he not speaking, or is he just whinging? Like,
Yeah, I think he muted.
There we
himself.
go.
There.
I would bet decent money that Wraith Knight doesn't see the second week of July.
It'd be really
Seems
nice if he could
reasonable.
if he could not make the first week of July just to make sure it's a WT cut off. But
Yeah, that'd be nice. But
I'm also hoping Forge World just doesn't drop till Monday, and we can just not have to read them. Every day it gets closer to like me being happy for the first time in months. So
especially since Warhammer Community has been very cagey about when it's coming out. Because they said sometime in the next few weeks last week, and then this week, whenever someone's asking about it, their response has been,
we don't know.
"We'll let you know when you have a day."
I hope it comes out on Friday.
Oh,
Just
Anthony,
so
stop it.
so close.
Anthony, how
But-
can you be so? How do you have such negative energy, man? Why do you got to be like this?
This is really funny because usually Innis does have negative energy.
Yeah, I know it's really bugging me. I would like to be the negative one.
it's very unsettling. I'm sitting here like, should we just switch them on the screen?
I love forcing Innis to be positive. It's very funny to me.
It hurts me so much.
On that note, any tips for keeping a game positive, especially versus a Custodes player who is losing?
Oh,
No,
That
mock
seems
them.
very specific.
Tell them that when the custodians died, you fucking cut off their top knot.
Dang. You erase their names from the wall.
Yeah, you just scrub them out of their armor.
You take the
Fuck
brass
you.
nameplate. Take the brass nameplates off of them
It's
and
like
throw them
Hangman.
over
They
your
just
shoulder.
lose a letter from their name every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like their name's like Jeremy. You start referring to them as like Jerem by mid game.
Yeah.
You can break them.
It's like when you kill Eldar, you go around punching all their soul stones.
no, you just tell them that Valdor would be disappointed.
You just bring like a thing of mini eggs to eat in front of an Eldar player. Like, this is a soul stone. Pop it in your
Bam.
job.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah, I'm there for that. Anything you can do to make players suffer while they're losing
It-
more is definitely a thing you should do. StatCheck officially accepts this position and recommends that you do everything you can to rub it into your opponent when you're beating them, regardless of circumstance or
This
whether
is
they're
not
a
an
12-year-old
official-
child.
Stop that.
This is not an official stat check position.
Only
So-
if you play Custodes.
Or Crusade.
Right. That's what Innis does. I mean, what Nathan does in Crusade, I have to assume. Like,
Yeah, Nathan was actually,
literally
that's
just
actually
erasing
playing
their lore.
and just like literally like removing their limbs to replace with metal arms as he beats them to death.
Yeah.
3D printed those limbs. Might
In
as well
all
use them for
seriousness,
something.
staying positive when your opponent is tilting can be very difficult because you often start to wonder, am I the problem? Did I do this to them? Was there something about the way
Absolutely,
they
yes,
did it?
every time.
And the reality is sometimes, yes, it is. And sometimes there is absolutely nothing wrong that you did. You were just playing the game. You were being friendly. I watched at an event I was judging, I watched the most friendly player possible be at complete odds because his opponent had tilted off the face of the earth from like the go first roll.
It's
And
it's your fault. Your opponent and his army are getting divorced. Okay.
Yeah, it was very much a like, dude, like he's doing everything nice to you. He's helping you with rules. He's shutting up about when dice rolls go bad. He's just being nice to you. And
What you should
are
do
being an
in that
idiot.
situation is every time they roll slightly well, like they pass 2 out of 4 ups, complain about their dice. Like
Oh.
while you're winning, just start rubbing in.
Again,
Just go straight
damn
for the
it.
jug.
Innis, you don't have to try to violently take the being negative position away from Anthony. You don't have to. It's not necessary.
Just
You
ask him
can
what
just.
Just ask him what the score is at the end of every turn.
Oh, Jesus.
So what do you have left?
How many wounds does that have again? Is it
Oh,
dead yet?
Yeah, you got a
Do we-
bunch of stuff in Deep Strike, right?
Do we need to play this out?
Sometimes when a game is going really negative and if your opponent is like really sent, sometimes I will be like, hey, do you want to stop? Because occasionally you have to. I've had
No one knows.
The
Noah
most-
does
The
know.
most seen I have ever been. I no longer play League of Legends, but I am still a League of Legends player.
he can't play League of Legends anymore because he was so mean that even he got banned.
Yeah.
Next question is from James, and this is really just for Innis, I think. How have you found balancing what was once your hobby with what is now the main way you earn a living? And what do you now do as a means of mental care away from the game?
What's away from 40K? No, generally I don't do a ton outside of like Warhammer. Like, you know, watch films, you know, hang with your family, read a book, walk the dog, you know, like the standard like be alive stuff. But the coaching stuff is very disassociated from actually playing 40K for me. I very much view them as separate things. I obviously spend a lot of time talking about 40K for, you know, like being involved in Team Scotland and this. But the coaching side of things definitely feels a lot more focused and targeted. Like I'm not, you know, you don't act the same way you are when you're in a professional environment as you are with like in this situation or playing a game with a friend. So I don't know. It's felt pretty easy so far to keep them separated. Obviously, if that changes, then it'll change. But so far, it's been all right. I don't enjoy playing 40K any less for doing the coaching, and obviously that helps feedback into doing the coaching. I don't know how you find it, Anthony.
I don't like. It's different because it's not the primary method, right?
You still do it, right? So
Yeah,
still making work and fun, right? So
I just meant that like it's a bit different because IT's been a wonderful break from 10th. So God bless backup checking. Woo, my new true hobby. The good part of my day is from 6 to 3, not 3 to 10. So it depends. Like I really enjoy helping people like learn and find new ways to be good at things, right? That's like part of why I do IT, because helping people resolve a problem is fun, and then you can in 40K teach them to resolve their own problems or like teach them problem solving skills. But I don't know. I haven't really been doing much coaching lately. Like the end of 9th was like and right now the like best coaching advice you could give someone is buy Wraith Knights, so it's like kind of hard to manage that space until we have like a more rounded expectation of what it is. Like I don't even know how I would do singles coaching right now. Like the game is so fucked as to not resemble a game for singles that like it doesn't seem sensible. Like I don't know that I could give them like meaningful positive advice because my own interaction with the game is so negative. So I'm kind of just like, hang out for a little bit, just be cool, just relax, it'll be fine, it'll all blow over in a little bit, and maybe they'll realize that they've murdered the tactical nuance of their game and fix some stuff. But for now, I think the mix has been good because it's been mostly enjoyable, right? Coaching for the most part is like get paid to do a cool thing with a nice person. That's not so bad. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely can feel a lot like just having doing the thing you would enjoy doing anyway, which is talking about Warhammer.
Right.
Obviously, you end up a lot more focused and targeted, but
Yeah.
you're still talking Warhammer, right? So it's never. It's still work. Like obviously, it feels like work in a very different sense, but it's so for me. It's very not the same as playing Warhammer or even like talking about Warhammer recreationally. It just ends it different. So it's been all right.
I'd be super game with doing it full time if there wasn't like a sales aspect to it. I like much prefer my like 9 to 5, like clock in, hit the thing, leave aspect of my like day job, and you can't really do that with that. That's not like
not a side of the world I ever thought I would end up being involved in. Is the like being a self, like trying to sell yourself. It's not something I'm super comfortable with. It's definitely something I'm still working on, but it's definitely interesting because I was terrible at phone sales. So right, let's move on.
All right, next
this is
question
a slightly lighter question. Yep.
Yeah, Will has a lighter question, which is: would you rather give up stone fruits, that's like peaches, mangoes, and stuff like that, or eggs for life?
Oh boy, what the
stone
fuck?
fruits every time. Eggs are incredible. Eggs are the best.
I would rather give up stone fruits. Eggs are in so many things. There's like so much stuff with eggs in it.
Well,
trying to go egg free is almost impossible.
Like
you just get hard scammed into picking stone fruits in this one because you can't like eggs is like
everywhere.
What?
Yeah, like it's like bread, milk, eggs, like the foundational pillars of all food. Like without those three, I just can't do it.
Being vegan is difficult. That's true.
Yeah. So that answers that lighter question. How many Imperial factions, or Mick Werp is asking this question, is how many Imperial factions can Canis Rex carry all by himself?
I don't think
None,
he does enough by himself. Yeah.
Not even that good.
I mean, he's great in knights, but past that, he's not super great.
Yeah. He's just not as cool when you don't have like knight strats and stuff. Don't worry about it.
You have tank shock. That's like a knight strat.
You can tank shock twice. It's actually not bad. He does roll 20 dice on tank shock. He's strength 20.
22?
He's strength 20.
So you get 22 dice.
Yeah, 22 dice. Yeah.
Still not as good as
Can be
breaking
over.
through.
I mean, it's like the
you're-
same.
It's kind of
It's
hard
gonna
to be
be-
breaking through.
It's going to be like 6 mortal wounds no matter what, basically, right? I described stone fruits for the audience, actually, because I wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page for what stone fruits are. I'm also very glad that Bryant is in here defending me as a nice person.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
I objectively think it's incorrect.
I think Cookade Nathan's eyes glow fucking red and he just rips those people in half. I think it's horrible. I think he gets in there and he's like, nice bitch, and he's like erasing their lore out of their notebook as he kills his dudes.
Aw.
Like just
No,
fucking
no.
their day up.
Only
Nathan
when they
plays for
rolled the
keeps
1
through
on
all
the
the
out of
roster.
action tests.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Nathan plays for keeps. He just cuts your mortals' heads off with clippers and puts it on his contemptor's base.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
did, after a game, on that note, an opponent offered to give me an Armiger head after Drazar killed like 6 of his Armigers across a game when Drazar and like that witch list was at peak. He basically dueled 2 Armigers at the same time and killed both of them. And my opponent was like, "Can I just like mail you an Armiger head?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And so,
Anthony, did you ever put Custodian's head on Drazar's base when you were dealing with Hader?
So I did not, but if Dan, who will probably listen to this at some point, wants to put that on the one he's doing for me, I wouldn't be mad about it.
all right,
Fair
And
enough.
it would be a funny way to tilt Haidar when I see him.
that would be the best though. I'm gonna miss the days where Drazar could kill himself like his own weight in freaking models across the course of a game.
I miss when he killed literally anything. I miss when he was worth taking. How's that? He doesn't have to kill his own models worth of weight. Just be worth using.
Yeah, the Drukhari rules made me quite sad actually when I first looked at them because it's basically just Darklance the book.
Apparently, that like from what I am told, that's like how Dark Eldar used to work in ye olden times. And then they
It's very
decided
true.
that they were in fact actually a melee faction, and then they were like, "No, never mind, we can't do that." And just
Yeah,
killed it.
the 8th edition book is the aberration. It was just you that was weird.
The
Yeah.
8th edition book that was fun to play was the Aberration. The 9th edition, I don't know.
8th edition book was fun to play. What are you on about?
No, he meant
No.
9th and the 10th
9th.
edition.
I said them backwards.
Was-
That's okay.
Was worried for a
Um,
second there.
But like Witches and Lilith made me kind of sad about how expensive that unit is to run. And because like Lilith is necessary, it feels like to make that unit actually work properly.
Well, yeah,
Otherwise
she's
it's
the
a bunch of-
entire unit's output.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, she also makes the unit like strength 4, which is like actually reasonably decent for wounding, I guess, infantry, but not great. No, it's not good, Anthony. I'm really stretching the idea of good. But moving on from Drukhari making me depressed, Will asks, serious question. Have you thought about using the partnership with WTC to gather any data you wouldn't be able to gather otherwise? For example, getting people to record how long is left on the clock at the end of the game to see how long games are across the tournament.
I'm gonna say right now that's never gonna happen.
We are thinking about different data to gather from WTC because I'm going to be doing live stats
But
analysis.
it's probably not going to be physical data that we would
But it's
require people to
probably-
walk around tables for.
We're actually going to do some walking around the tables.
We
There's
should
gonna be
definitely check
some-
whether people on average stand on like if you've got your longboard edge, do you usually stand to the left or the middle? Like on do you stand on the shortboard edge or the longboard edge? I would like to know what player stats would have.
I'm extremely
Because
tempted
they're all
to.
open tables. Like what are people to default to? What if your deployment zone's hammer and anvil? Do you still stand on the short and the long edge? Who knows, right? Like
Now that I see this, though, I'm extremely tempted to do like a step tracker for every team and see which team walks the most across the totality of the event.
mine is definitely going to average the lowest, just because I think
That's-
Brian might get an Uber from one end of the hall to the other. But
That's okay.
Wait, you mean he
I
hasn't
mean,
invested in the Heelys?
Oh god. somebody keeps suggesting Heelys, and I think they just want to watch an old man break a leg while healing across the floor.
a
at
little bit,
WTC.
yeah. Actually,
I mean, it's not
can we
great.
make that
Guys.
happen?
It's not
Can we
good.
get stat check brand Heelys and force Nathan to wear them for the entire weekend?
I will wear StatCheck Heelys one day if you figure out a way to get custom Heelys for me to wear at WTC.
So I'm also going to expand a little bit more on Will's question with regards to the time left in the round. WTC players will just use the entire round if they can. They like you have a 4.5 hour round. You will come by with an hour left in the game. They'll be like, "Yeah, we're on battle round 3. Don't worry, we'll finish."
Yeah, I'm more interested in getting some individual statistics and stuff like
Some
that.
skill issues.
Like we're gonna look at
finishing an hour.
performance stats. We have like a bunch of cool stuff planned. I'm working with Contact Loss to get some OBS stuff and some other things put together because we're gonna do a fancier layout and things. So we got some wheels turning. I am even gonna try to do something with Contact Loss this week on Thursday, which I think will be done. Will be presented.
Best I can do
later
is
to the
Minecraft
public.
Heelys, Nathan. Why was that?
Sure, if you buy the Heelys and bring them, I'll wear them. Whatever, I don't care. I'll wear them a day. I'll probably die, but you can live with that on your conscience, probably.
Thanks.
In all seriousness, a little electric scooter might work.
You can't choose to not be the negative person this far into the podcast. It is.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on
right.
swiftly.
Nick K's question is less of a question and more of an RE10th-Y.
Because I was sick of explaining to people that you should occasionally consider taking banners in armies that want to play RBD. That's it. That's the entire reason. I was sick of explaining that in specific interactions, so they brought out 10th edition.
So now we're just going to go to the next question. Mike Primus Grade. Do you have any hope that the new GW app will standardize list formats and outputs in an easy-to-search manner for stats?
Yes, actually.
Hope or expectation? Because I have a lot of hope.
Hope. Always a hope.
Yes.
I think that'd be great.
They
I would
publish their review of it, and the review actually seemed reasonably good.
I was, as I always feel, a little worried when I look at Araman's data sheet and it's 4 lines long, and it's Araman's Inferno Pistol, Araman's Black Staff, and I'm like, just say Araman 140, and we'd all be fine with that information level. Which is always my worry with these kind of like full send. Yeah, WC rosters are beautiful, and I love them. Not just because I help write the list format.
Ben asks, how many Wraith Knights is the correct number of Wraith Knights? 1, 2? Is the answer different for singles versus teams?
It's 3.
I think the answer is 3.
It's 3 or 0. Like, don't play 1. You're just asking to get scammed and lose your Wraith Knight for no reason. Play 3. Punish people for trying to kill your Wraith Knights. Anthony, don't interact. It's fine.
He's also muted.
You're muted.
I know he is. I want to make him squirm.
You can't. Oh, I can't
run none if that's an option. Run at least 1.
Just play 3.
Yeah, Sebastian does raise a good point. Just wait for the Skadak Wraith Knight.
The one with the
Skadak Wraith Knights actually come in units and get attached to as per the Wraith Lord data sheet. So you can bring one back with the Spirit Sphere every turn. Yeah. And the Overwatch is a squad of 3, and they can Overwatch as many targets as they like.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
I hope they're just gone, like just not in the book.
I hope they're 100 points.
Anthony, stop it.
John asks, that one guy, John asks, so are we back to a horde meta for Gene Stealer Cult?
Yes. Did we ever leave it?
Shit ain't back to a melee meta.
That was a lot of people just saying yes. So I'm just going to move on to the next question. Why does whoever wrote the Imperial Guard Index have a raging boner for indirect fire? Because I actually looked at that book and I was like, man, none of the non-artillery things feel super viable in this. And I was like, I guess it's back to the
You sure can have
I saw them
coming back. Definitely.
I was like, you can definitely. It's Sentinels and then artillery, and the two work together well. So it's just Sentinels and artillery.
Yeah, no idea. I think indirect is just pretty good.
It's super boring.
And then the follow-up question is: do you see a viable X1 tier guard build that isn't just 3 Manic Cores, 3 Basilisks, 3 Mortar Squads? Yeah, you swap out the Mortar Squads for Field Ordnance batteries.
Yes, I don't know, and maybe wait to see if like anything else is good that's in direct fire as well. Who knows at this point? Ethan asks, has the tactical deck been fun to play?
100%.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
But I also really enjoyed the ETC format in 8th.
Me too.
Then he says, was it all right that I updated the list tool? I didn't want to cross any lines.
Yes. I will say right now, I did not expect this thing to explode the way that it did, but when I wrote it, it was so me and my friends could write lists quickly. And then I realized no one else had anything that they could write lists in because everyone was just writing them on paper or Excel. So I said, here, go. And since then, I have learned that Warhammer player. No, actually, no, I didn't even learn. It has been reconfirmed to me again that Warhammer players can't read because I put a big thing that says if you want to use this, make a copy, and this is how you make a copy. And every single day, I get somewhere between 20 and 50 requests to edit the sheet. And by the way, you can't turn that off. I actually yesterday spent about 20 minutes on Google trying to figure out if I could turn that off so my inbox would stop being spammed. Instead, I just ended up creating an inbox.
The mistake you made was not having it go to. The mistake you made was not doing it through a dummy email.
Whatever.
The next question is worst primary missions or mission rules.
Servo Skull.
Why is Servo Skull so bad, though?
So imagine this. Actually, I talked about it at the beginning of the show, but imagine you make an objective sticky and your opponent can never get on that objective. That objective at the end of every single player turn moves 6 inches in whatever direction you want it to go for the rest of the game.
Sounds fun.
Or you can just do the thing where, like, you go first, you jump onto it, move it 6 inches back towards you, average your opponent, and then immediately punt it 12 inches directly towards the opponent zone, and then they never get to move it again. It's not a great mission. I think it's by far.
Now, the scoring side of it is interesting because you only score primary for objectives that are on the other side of the table from you, so it encourages a table flip, but at the same time, realistically, it ends up being the most coin flippy mission possible because as soon as you get an advantage, you just run away with it. Because if you're able to get 3 objectives in your opponent's deployment zone, you max primary in 2 turns.
Yeah, and then the worst mission rule is the Dawn of War card because Dawn of War is a
still
terrible
exists.
And then the actual the Scrambler Fields one is by far my least favorite. You can't deep strike into no man's land, you can't infiltrate, you can't deep strike on objectives. I don't like that one very much. I think it's very
not being able to deep strike on objectives was definitely a choice. Everything else I'd be okay with because we played Abandoned Sanctuaries for all of last edition, and it was
okay with.
Great.
I would respect that it existed and respectfully disagree that it should be used in events.
It's fine. Every event is just to use Killing Rain for their mission rule every single round because
I think that's really boring because I think there's some that are okay. Some that are like the draw 3, discard 1 for tactical objectives is completely
or just
fine.
draw 3, play 3 because that way also if you play fixed, you get a card every single turn. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't mind if you hold your home objective, you get a CP on a 4+. It's fine in some of the more interesting missions. Like there are some that are okay. I don't think there's any particular need to not play them.
Dawn of War, Scrambler Fields together.
So Abandoned Sanctuaries all over again.
Oh, and I really like the add extra objectives one. The one that sometimes just makes it 6 objectives. I think that one's completely fine.
It makes for some really weird looking tables.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to fix which direction they go if there's not a fixed direction. And there's some deployments it just doesn't really like. If you play that on the one where there's like 3 objectives across the middle line, and you play like the Terra and the Rykon's deployment, it gets real messy. Those objectives are really close together, but I definitely think it works.
Same with Hammer and Anvil.
But if you do the double up one, you can do the 6 objectives and player placed, and then both players place 3 objectives, and that one actually works pretty well as a double up mission card, which I quite like as well.
All right. How would Innocent Anthony define what it means for someone to be coachable, and how do you think players can be more receptive to learning from better players to maximize lessons being taught?
Being coachable is pretty straightforward. That's just a matter of like how well you take given advice and then implement it without that advice having to pass through a filter of like you making a mistake and being like, I'm a failure, I'm a fuck up, and having like 19 internal things that get between like the L and the lesson. That is usually what I find trips people up the most. Because if like every time we go to do something and I'm like, hey, you're gonna get charged here, you're like, oh, I'm such an idiot, I shouldn't have done. Like if you do that at every mistake, like we're not going anywhere here. But like if you're like, oh, and you like, are more receptive to that lesson, it's a lot easier to go from there. I find that that's most people's biggest like trip up is that they like put a lot of like self blame, and then it's like, yo, just chill out, it's fine, you're not a failure, you just fucked up. Now let's unfuck this up and fix it, and you can kind of work from there.
For me, a lot of the most successful aspect of it is coming to the session or the coaching call or whatever you want to call it with something with like, hey, this is a thing I want to focus on, because it's easy to do all the standard like maintenance stuff where we talk about what are you playing at the moment? What are you struggling with in the list, right? That kind of thing. What have you played this week? What have you played recently? Let's talk to some of the more interesting games, right? It's easy to do all that stuff, like sort of the maintenance level, but coming to it with like a, hey, I've been thinking about it since then, or I've played the games and this is a specific thing I want to talk about. Just bringing something active to it just gives you that like that 5 minutes at the end where you can really dive in on a topic with it that just kind of helps elevate the whole thing to like talking about specific situations or really just like coming to it with that like active participant. The more that you put in, the more you get out is really the gist of it. And it's kind of goes with what Anthony's saying as well. If you come into it with like the growth mindset of, hey, I made a mistake here, but I'm not the mistake I made. The mistake is something that happened and I moved past it. It's kind of the same thing, right? You just got to bring the right mindset and the right energy to whatever the learning you're doing. And that's kind of the best thing for coachability is to just, the more active and engaged you are, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, right? So the people that are the most coachable are the people who are willing to put the most effort in, the ones who are sending you the game reports in between hands so you can talk about them afterwards, the ones who, ask questions before and after rather than just during the call. Those are the ones that are like getting the most out of it, and it's great. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's fine. But the most coachable are people who are doing all of that effort. Because you're spending the money on it, you might as well do the most for it.
The second question from James is, how much have you found that coaching has forced you to change the way you communicate / teach, given the massive difference that people have in information processing?
There's not a huge change for this for me because I spent like all that time coaching martial arts. So this is kind of just like the same skill set or the same approach, just like with a different set of things.
I'm a lot more polite when I coach.
Seems good.
Generally
seems legit. Paul asks, Alpine GT has allegedly ruled that the Wraith Knight can't use devastating wounds. How are we feeling about TOs feeling more empowered to make these kinds of calls?
It is the best part of the edition being a fucking dumpster fire, is that people are willing to take parts of it and be like, hey, that part really fucking sucks. We don't have to suffer just because they said we do. Look, we'll fix a small part of it.
FAQ? Come on, guys, we could do it. We could
sure, let's go.
We could fork the format. Just go and make our own event. Go and make our own rule set.
It also means that event doesn't get counted for anything.
The stat check balance patch. We could do it. I'm not saying we will. I'm not saying we should, but we could do it.
We could.
Eldar would suck.
I mean, so far we've seen like every time that an event of any decent size has had something like that happen, that GW, at least in recent memory, has taken notice.
Yeah.
So it apparently is a good way to get GW to go, oh, big events are creating their own FAQs again. Maybe there's something we need to look at. So I'm actually for it. TO should feel empowered and announce it to the universe.
Check balance patch. You mention that in the comments. If you say it 150 times, James Workshop will be summoned.
Oh my god. That doesn't sound great at all. McWhirp asks a second question, which is, what do you guys think of the way GW has handled improving underperformers?
It really varies by faction. When it's Space Marines, they get buffed. When it's Death Guard, they get something, but it's never really enough. It kind of designs on how for me, it depends on how the army is designed. If the army is a multi-dimensional army that has a lot of different ways to approach the game, they tend to do fairly sweeping buffs where they're like, hey, we recognize that this isn't working. Let's make it all a little bit better. And then they'll do that, and then it'll be, they'll give Space Marines some points drops, and then they'll give them armor cadet, and then they'll change Devastator Doctrine back, right? And, there's steps to it. And then when you're Death Guard, they go, well, all they really do is be tanky and stand places. So let's make them better at that, and then never address any of the underlying problems with that's not a good way to win games. So it kind of depends on where you fall in the range of options available to your faction, how good GW are at buffing underperformers and nerfing overperformers. Because AdMech, all they really had was be shooty and be tanky, and they were like, well, what if we got rid of both of those and nothing new gets added, and then the army language is in dumpster tier, except occasionally spiking good performances off of very talented players, because it can still, with a couple of buffs, still do that, but it's all it has, and you have to be very good at the fact to do that. So, it really depends.
It sounds like not great is the shorthand answer to that. 10th feels pretty stratified. If they just nerf the extreme overperformers, will that fix things?
No. There's foundational issues with 10th, like the proliferation of indirect and dev wounds and towering and rerolls and all of the combinations of those things unless you mean the extreme overperformers like any data sheet that has any of those very common USRs, then sure. But I have a sneaking suspicion that's not what this question was saying. Also, custodes are waiting like a fucking eldritch horror under the waves for nerfs to non-conventional damage methods to go away, so they can spring out and stab you in the kidneys. Because holy moly, is that faction good when you don't have like a bullshit thing to deal with them?
Now, let's be fair, Anthony. Assault cannons with dev wounds aren't breaking the game. It's just like there are some things that are
But, like,
problematic with them. Some things
Assault
are not.
cannons staple to sustain hits
Sure.
with dev wounds
Yeah,
attached to full rerolls.
I'm just saying the mechanic itself is fucked, but there are like the Kellermore functionally has it now in 8th edition, in 9th edition, and it's not busted. It's just strong. There are appropriate ways to apply that keyword. They just haven't done them right. Like I don't think the foundational like you could have devastating wounds. I think it's fine on Thunderhammers. I don't think anybody's got a problem with it there. Or like Asterath, the once per game, the Death Company. Like it's powerful, but that's fine.
I think it's only an issue because like there's only not an issue because there's other more batshit shit. But I think like in a vacuum, what a unit like that with oaths can do is fucking bananas still.
Again, I think that's an oath problem, not a devastating wounds problem. Devastating wounds compounds existing problems. It doesn't in and of itself create problems.
But if I hand you the multiplier and then I'm like, no, I'll put nothing in the game. That makes this obvious multiplier a problem.
Yeah. I'm just saying that there are balanced versions of devastating wounds, they just don't exist right now. Right? Like nobody's complaining that Gulliman's sword has fucking devastating wounds when it does the sweep profile, right? That's just not a problem.
Yeah. I think part of it is that they've created ways for it to interact with like auto wound mechanics in particular. That's bad. And then they've created a couple auto 6 mechanics for a couple factions that are really good and have major like devastating wounds like mechanisms to deliver. Like why are Wraith Knights devastating wounds with 2d6 damage on their characteristic? Like did you need a unit that could output 12 mortal wounds like at a whim basically? Probably not. You don't need that in the game, especially on a towering yes, sorry. But on a towering platform in particular, once you start, they just created a couple layered mechanics that are real bad right now. And if you stripped out some of the layered mechanics, you'd probably have a better game under everything.
I think you pull those 4 keywords and you have something approximating a game.
Yeah. I guess they saw the situation. Like, the more I read towering and the more I look at Knights armies and like other armies with towering models that can output damage across the table, because makes me makes me upset. I just don't get it. Why would you do this? This wasn't the solution to Knights getting shot off the table first turn.
I mean, it was their solution.
Yeah, I just don't understand why it was the solution. You could have just made obscuring work for everybody or something like that. Maybe that would have been better.
They just decided to take it the wrong way.
It's fine.
It
does happen.
Games.
Yes, as was evidenced by Innes saying that most of his games last 1 to 2 turns.
He said half.
Half.
Yeah.
Sorry, he did say 50%.
Turns out that when the armies are on an even keel, you still play Warhammer.
All right. Does the WTC abide by the Geneva Convention? I assume so.
It's not war, so no.
Like, I assume if it was like a war and they needed to, I don't know.
We let Team America attend, so collective punishment is still alive and well. So
yeah, it's true.
It's true. And
I feel like we've hammered the war crimes that would be expected to see play out on tables repeatedly already on this podcast, and we don't need to go over them again.
If anybody, look, go and find the 8th edition list document, the 8th edition index list document. You will see just as many terrible lists as we're seeing now. It is not better. It is never better. Index Hammer is always crap. It's just crap this time with more people. It was not more fun when you played against 3 Storm Ravens and Magnus that if it finished deploying before you, always went first unless you seized. Because it had 4 drops and you had 5, it went first 82% of the time. It was not better. It was not better than now. I 100% promise you. There were just less eyes on it. So it'll be fine. It'll get fixed. It's just really shit and it's going to last for however long it's going to last. And it's really shit right now. And that's not to legitimize that, but it will not be this bad forever. It will get better.
Mm-hmm.
Scott McCutcheon asked if you had to write the most competitive list for GSC off the top of your head, what makes the 2,000 points and why?
So you start by counting neophytes. And you go to the maximum, and then you fill in the rest with some characters and some acolytes, and then you go, and it's cool. Neophytes are really good.
There we go.
Basically, play a mirror cult list, but it's about as good as it was, and you have more models.
Frank
Just
asks,
don't run fucking bikes.
Frank asks Anthony specifically, how excited are you to be a golden god this summer?
Custodians look really fun. They definitely, see aforementioned comment about war crimes. But they seem like they are a good time, which is cool. It's more than I can say for most of the other factions that I like. So maybe it'll be dope. Who knows? Maybe CSM will actually make the 8 and I won't have to worry about this too much.
Luke asks, to be more positive, are there any core rule changes that you have really enjoyed in the new edition as opposed to 9th edition?
I mean, there's 3 that come off the top of my head. One, USRs as a whole, just definitely streamlined
Not
things.
really a core rule, though, is it? That's just a streamlining of rules.
All right, fine.
Like, I'm
core rule.
talking like actual things that are on the table that you interact with as core rules.
All right, fine. Then that's number 2 for me, is being able to move through your own models.
Yep, big fan.
It's a good one.
Because that
Except
is
vehicles
just...
and monsters. Haha, fuck you, night players.
Well, except vehicles and monsters into vehicles and monsters.
Yeah.
But everything else, like that change right there is so nice because it fixes the, oh, sorry, I need to move this first. And when you ran and played, the one asshole who said, no, you can't do that. You'd be like, they're going there anyways. Yeah, that change was really nice. I kind of like Lone Operative. And the reason that I like it is infinitely simpler to explain to someone than Lookout Sir, because people were still managing to roll and play that long even after 3 years of playing with it.
Lone Operative feels like the negative play experience mechanic that is closest to being fine with like a within 12 or closest to eligible would like clean up every problem that I have with it.
Yeah,
but
closest
then that
eligible would
opens up,
probably be
that
fine.
does open up things like rhino sniping again, which I'm not a huge fan of. So I definitely think there's going to be, there's some level of extra needed to that. Like I've definitely played some lone op spam lists that are just not healthy to the game, even slightly. Tau having like triple ghost kill if that unit was slightly better would be a big problem. So yeah, I think it could be true. I really like the characters and units. I think it plays completely fine, exactly the way I like it. I think the keywording could be streamlined a little more than it is in terms of like what goes with what. But that's more of a presentation problem than an actual rules problem. Like what's on the table, I just generally like it. And I think that's been a really good change. And it deals with a lot of the problems that we had with characters in previous editions. And I like precision. Precision works pretty well as far as like you can actually play around it, but if you don't play around it, you can get punished pretty hard. And if you get punished pretty hard by it, it really sucks. And it'll teach you to get better pretty quickly. And then it'll kind of stop mattering.
Dan F asks, what food are you most looking forward to in Mechelin?
The fries.
Tears of my enemies.
Oh, mussels and frits.
Anthony, what did you say? I didn't catch it. You and Innes tried to talk at the same time.
The fries were real good last year. But like most of like anything I ate in Mechlin was dope. So Europe has much higher food standards than the US. So as a general rule of thumb, pretty much everything we eat over there is quite good.
The really sketchy burgers with the kebab shops that were like weird pucks that they chucked into the fryer.
Oh, that shit was good though.
Not great, but I'm down for more of them.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just have a kebab?
Because I don't really like them, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's
because there are spices in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have pepper in them, so he just dies.
White bread, bro.
Recently,
there was a really dope pizza place we went to last year that we're having to go back to. There was like that food court place that we never quite go to, like the Neckarhall or something like that. That I definitely want to try and hit up this year. We're gonna make more of a concerted effort as a team to like eat more and better dinners. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw that too, Brian.
It sounds like two members.
It's okay. Brian is technically ethnically German, so he's allowed to say this.
Pretty good. I'm going to skip Paul's question because I've had enough negativity about 10th edition at this point, and we've answered this question like 5 times. Grant asks a very self-serving question, which is, how has having mods helped y'all with the show?
It's definitely increased the number of messages we have about changing channels and confusing people.
Yes, but that's done now, right? Right?
I think we're done. I think we're
probably
done with it. We might rename some channels. We need a good name for the Gene Stealer Cult channel. That is not the current Gene Stealer channel name.
I like Hobo with shotguns.
I don't.
I mean, like I would
Not
call
even-
it like I don't know, like Citizens of the Underhive rise up or something like that, and just go full marches with it. But might be a
I
little.
mean, that's what I was.
might drive away
hopefully
some
going
people.
with.
So
I would prefer the full Marxist. I think that's funnier. Otherwise, our mods have been great. They've handled a lot of stuff in the background. That's been nice. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I hope we've told you all that you're doing a good enough job repeatedly enough at this point.
Yeah.
we even have
If
bots
not-
now. It's great. Like our
Yeah.
Discord actually feels like a real Discord as opposed to a thing we threw together, and we're like, people can be here now.
It only took us a year.
It's true. I'm gonna skip Dan's question because it's just even more. So I'm just kidding. Chris asks, when are you expecting the James Workshop apology video to come out?
I don't think it's going to be an Eldari apology video. I think it's going to be a general apology video.
Yesterday, and it was
Hopefully in the
it would
next
have been
week or
too
two.
late.
It all depends when they want to drop the changes.
8th of July, full chaos for
Oh
WCC.
god, no, because then there'll be a captain's vote.
Yeah, I know, and it'll be great, and I'll be the one
Fine.
leading it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will 100% instigate captain's vote on the 8th of July if they drop it. If they drop an
I'd be
FAQ.
disappointed if you didn't.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see you instigate a captain's vote on the fucking 4th of August.
Mod performance reviews incoming. Yeah, now it's happening. We're gonna have 6-month check-ins. It's gonna be great.
Or one-on-ones.
Yeah, we're gonna have one on. It'll be
To be
awesome.
fair, we're all due our yearly performance reviews, right? So
Yeah,
Get to find out who
Gotta
gets
pull up.
cut.
gotta pull up the performance reviews.
yeah, Cliff hasn't made a show in a while. I'm just saying.
Didn't they make a show last week?
Shut up.
You and your fucking context.
Eric asks that. So should you take 2 mana cores and 2 basilisks in Gene Stealer?
Do they come back when they die?
No.
No.
Grow up. Play more neophytes. No, in all seriousness, they're fine. You can play them. You don't have to have them. They make some
No
matchups easier.
orders
They
on
make some
them
matchups
does
worse.
make them significantly less good.
Makes them a little worse. Like you can play them. You will not be unhappy to play them. You do not have to have them. There are plenty of tools in GSC to play them pure.
Ashley asks, "What's everyone's favorite index and why?"
Outside of sheer power level reasons, I think the Deathwatch one comes together pretty well thematically. Like feeling like you're using kill teams in concert and getting like extra ammos over that feels pretty cool. The beacon is really awesome. Tome is wildly powerful, but it makes sense to have an option for buffing yourself. And I really like the movement shenanigans, and it feels super cool. Frag cannons are really impactful. It's definitely the best Deathwatch I've felt since they existed, and I'm really impressed with the Codex all told. Points are a little weird, and some of the interactions and Ultra Moment is obviously wildly powerful, but just as a thematic book, I really enjoyed it.
I think Marines are like a indirect nerf away from being cool.
Yeah, no, I
Totally.
agree. For me, I was going to say the Dark Angels index because, again, my lovely line is playable. But at the same time, like, if I was ever forced to play the Unforgiven Detachment, I would be okay with that. Losing Gladius sucks, but
I hate everything in that book except the lion. It's bizarre.
Deathwing Command Squads are hilarious. They also hit like wet noodles when you don't have oaths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
just
most
melee, right?
things in the Marine book.
Yeah, I feel like you could make
Yeah.
Power Fist strength 10 and not be upset. Just generally, they should be okay winning vehicles on 4s.
I think if they were strength 12, it wouldn't even matter that much. Like,
Sure, we'd crowd out chain fist design space, but other than that,
give them dev wounds and leave anti-vehicle 3 on them. It'll be fine.
I like the pain token mechanic, just like as a thing. I think that's kind of neat. Like, I think pain tokens are kind of cool, but that's about the major design decision that I have enjoyed seeing so far. The rest of the Drukari book just kind of makes me depressed, but the pain token mechanic is cool.
Paul asks,
Which
Which-
indexes actually fulfilled the GW mission statement?
and honestly,
for
Paul,
10th
it's
of reduced
12:30 at
mortality?
night. I'm not checking. Half of them suck. Half of them are
Sisters.
cool.
Sisters,
Sisters.
Admech, Death Guard, maybe Tyranids.
Tyranids.
Tyranids definitely have reduced lethality.
They might be more lethal than the 8th book.
What did Pendulin say about in his Admech rant?
Admech can table themselves by turn 3, which is pretty hot.
Yeah, you could do that in other editions as well. But yes,
Yeah. I don't understand that index at all. I looked at it and I was like, I can't picture what how the design philosophy led to this specific index per se.
I feel
Bold of
like
you to
it was
think there was a
written
design
in-
philosophy.
Yeah, I feel like the guys like forgot to write an admech index, and they were just like, "Oh shit, we need this tomorrow," and they just kind of
Okay.
were like,
Pangolin put it perfectly. Forget bringing a knife to a gunfight. Adeptus Mechanicus are bringing a wet fart to a shitstorm.
There you go. That's pretty good.
the Goonhammer admech review definitely solved a lot of people's thoughts on Goonhammer going a little bit soft in their index reviews, which was understandable. A lot of them were a little bit they veered towards the positive side, which I think is fine. When people are reading their articles, trying to hype up about their index, trying to be like, "Hey, here are the cool things," doesn't rub me too much the wrong way. But it definitely was like, "Yeah, okay, Goonhammer are kind of on the pulse with this one. It definitely did a good job with that."
Yeah,
I
like
actually
the
just
Goonhammer crew as a whole
remembered-
know what's going on. They just, they also are writing articles that they want people to read, and
Yeah.
hate bait only goes so far.
I mean, Spiky Bits is the most successful site in 40K. I can't imagine
Mhm.
that's off anything else.
Are they though?
I get hate
They
bait just
are,
looking
yeah.
at that fucking place. There's so many
I've
goddamn ads on
just-
those windows.
Just got a message from a friend of mine. New drinking game is shot every time Anthony says like, and I'm going to just start paying attention to that.
Oh yeah, you'll
the
just die.
the index that I do like the most is actually the Necron one, because I think that index is kind of cool. I thought that the power level of that index is a little high, but it's probably appropriate.
It's
I
like
don't know.
a
I haven't played
couple
against it yet.
adjustments to reanimation protocols away from being a perfectly fair book.
And I
Sovereign
think that's
Throttle is a
okay.
wildly fucked up relic, by the way. Aura +1 to hit and buff all your stratagems is a little good for 9th or 10th editions.
Scissorass also giving Armor of Contempt and an aura is real good.
At least they were smart about that one and restricted it to battle line.
Yes, that's true. Which is just immortals and warriors, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like actually some of the choices made in that book, and I like that that book actually seemed to have a philosophy behind how it was designed. Some of the indexes are just weird.
Well, there's
and
been some
broken.
discussion and some theorizing around. Sorry, that the fundamental issues was that they didn't intend to do indexes in the first place. Now, none of us know one way or the other what that is, with short of GW actually come out and saying, "Hey, we fucked up and we didn't have the time to write them properly," which they'll never do.
That would make loads of sense.
But it would make sense if these things were rushed and didn't get like the full attention of the rules writing team that they normally get.
It looks like it didn't get the full attention of the interns, so I hope that there was some form of explaining factor here.
Sorry, guys.
Do we have any-
balance patch?
Do we have any questions in the... Did anybody see any questions in the YouTube chat? All the donations were to get Innes and Anthony a Baneblade or a Gunline army. And Dave said Necron Reanimators go burr. Yeah, which is true.
It really does. I
That
was
model
amazed when I
being
found out
good
that
is
was
so funny.
the fact that it's a 12-inch aura is definitely a
Yeah,
Design
well, it's not a
choice.
targetable one. It's just a 12-inch ore of everybody. I was like,
I like
why
that the
isn't
Luminor
this
Seraph might also be
targetable?
one of the best data sheets in the game. Like,
It's true.
Dude is a monster, but also infantry, just to fuck over Gulliman.
It's way funnier too because that model, like, nobody took it before. They were like,
I
this
got
model's
one
so cool.
I got one for £8 in Imperium magazine, so I'm super happy I've got one painted. The only Necron model I own. So
I guess that's it for questions. Actually, we got through all
Yeah,
of
I
them
think that's actually
in a
gonna do it for the
relatively timely
show.
fashion.
yeah, it turns out when
I
we
guess
don't
there's
talk about
something that
anything other than
says-
hating the edition.
There's just Sam making fun of you in YouTube chat, which is less questions and more just giving you shit.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with being made fun of as long as people are watching and giving us content and farming us for clicks and views and stuff like that. So that's fine.
fair.
But we can pretend to be
wanna-
Hellstorm Wargaming, who did definitely comment on me slagging him off last episode, by the way. So
What
love you
Which
really- love you really, Mike.
episode?
I don't know. Last we chatted shit about. I chatted shit about when he tagged me. or
Isn't
something
Mike
to
in
be
our
like,
Discord?
I don't know. I said something about the apothecary biologist being shit, despite Mikey saying he was good, and he like tagged me in a YouTube video of him using it that I didn't watch. So,
No, I don't think
Oh,
Mikey's
yes.
in our Discord.
No, I don't know. I thought
Mikey
he
doesn't
was
want to
for
give us
some
money.
reason.
I don't blame him. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us for the episode. Thank you. I think at some point we had like 98 people watching this live. So massive thank you to everybody who's here for the live show. As always, do check out our YouTube at youtube.com/c/statcheck. You can catch all of our back episodes, all of our predictions and commiserations about 9th and 10th edition, as well as all the other excellent shows on the network. Please do check out our Patreon at patreon.com/statcheck, where you can get access to our wonderful community Discord full of such incredible people as most of the chat that was here today. We will catch you all next week for the actual post-Leviathan We'll have, hopefully, maybe we'll even have a balance patch. Who knows? We could be so optimistic for the future. Congratulations to everybody who made
positive. Please, fucking Christ, GW.
Congratulations to everybody who made Team America. Well done to all of them. I know that a bunch of those guys are patrons and friends of ours, so massive props. It looks like you guys are going to have an awesome team out there. And fucking anybody but England. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck at any tournaments you're at. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.